The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast do not necessarily reflect those of the network, producers, advertisers, or hosts, and belong solely to those who make them. Truth Frequency is a non-biased and non-partisan platform committed to presenting all aspects of the truth and allowing you, the listener, to decide for yourself.
31 seconds, and we're going for auto sequence start.
This is David Icke, and you're tapped into the Truth Frequency with Chris and Cherie.
It's called being in the zone. It's called, being lucky. It's called having everything go your way.
When you deal with computers, you deal with ones and zeros. And the only way that you can make a computer more powerful is to expand the consciousness of the computer.
Well, it's something bigger than ourselves, and that's got to be said.
That has to do with the self-image that people have.
Just kind of your ego being swept aside, or being kind of stomped on, or being swatted like a fly.
People are waking up to that en masse in such an incredible way. And it's something that I guess when we're involved in this, we maybe lose the forest for the trees. But it really is and truly happening at a societal level.
It is being able to take what feels like ordinary human energy and mastering extraordinary power, even with a single person in a society with this kind of power. We call it the X factor.
The universe is not only stranger than you imagine, the universe is stranger than you can imagine.
And guess what, guys? Here we are.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, on American Freedom Radio and simulcasting on Polygraph Radio. This is your host, Chris Gio, and I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host, Cherie. And you are tapped into the Truth Frequency. And it is August 29th, 2010. Joining us in a few minutes, well, we have an absolutely incredible show. I can't believe I got these two guys on at the same time. Max Igan and Freeman will be joining us here in a few minutes. Both of them are amazing radio show hosts. They're both amazing filmmakers, researchers, and of the occult and esoteric. So it's going to be an absolutely amazing broadcast. They are coming to us live from Australia. I know last time Freeman was on the broadcast, he was talking about missing his flight to Australia. So it's going to be really nice to catch up with him and see how everything went.
I know. I just can't believe you got both of them on to be on at the same time. This is going to be so great.
Oh, I know. I have to say, I haven't heard of Max Igan before until one of our listeners says, hey, you should get Max Igan on. I heard Freeman talking about him, but when I started researching this guy and researching some of his work, I was just blown away. I mean, this guy's right aligned with what we talk about and the stuff that we research, so I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't
research enough.
That I didn't hear about him sooner. Because he's just a wealth of information.
Well, I mean, there's so much in his new PDF that he put out on his website. If you go to thecrowhouse.com, he has something called Earth's Forbidden Secrets. And when you start reading it, it starts all the pieces start falling into place of what we've been reading about. And it's really amazing. So everybody read that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And don't forget, we got a couple of special broadcasts coming up tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Central. We're going to be joined by Stephen Greer to talk about the physics of consciousness. Real interesting gentleman there. And next Saturday, another special broadcast with James Corbett live. He always does podcasts, but James is also a wealth of information. He just wrote a new book, so he's in Japan. And so, he's like 13, 15 hours difference from us. So it's going to be Sunday afternoon for him and Saturday afternoon for us, Saturday evening, 7 o'clock Central.
Cool.
Very, very cool.
That's Corbett, right?
James Corbett, yes.
I love Corbett. He's the one that gave me my start.
CorbettReport.com.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that gave me my start was Ghosts of the Republic. And nobody, if people haven't listened to their show, ghostoftherepublic.info is their website. Actually, blogtalkradio.com/ghostoftherepublic. Really good truth music show. And, of course, a big shout to Louis B., who's in the chat room with us.
What's up, Louis?
World famous Louis B. of We Are Change, New York. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to...
so mad at you.
I know. He's not going to like that at all. We'll see you on the other side, ladies and gentlemen. TruthFrequencyRadio.com, and we'll be right back with Max Igan and Freeman. I always have to tease Louis. He's my long-lost brother.
Yeah, I know.
We are back on American Freedom Radio. TruthFrequencyRadio.com is our website. And joining us, we have Max Igan, Australian filmmaker, radio show host, and esoteric and occult researcher. And I have to say that his information just completely blows me away. His latest work, Earth's Forbidden Secrets, is available at thecrowhouse.com. And he's done some fantastic videos about the awakening happening all around the world and how to fight this New World Order from a consciousness perspective, which is exactly what we talk about on this show, a global shift in consciousness. Max, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Chris. Nice to be here.
For the listeners who aren't familiar with you, which, you know, they're probably living under a rock like me before I heard about you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a radio host. I'm a researcher and filmmaker. Kind of sort of stumbled into it, really. But I've lived most of my life sort of on the outside of society, so I've been able to sort of gain a bit of a unique perspective of what society is. So I spend most of my time sort of looking in from the outside. And when you get to a stage in your life where you realise that all things are not as they seem and that voices need to speak out. So basically that's what I started doing, was speaking out. And I was really surprised, actually, at the amount of people who listened. So that's basically it in a nutshell. That's pretty well me at the moment.
Excellent, excellent. What drove you to do this kind of research? Was there any particular event? Was it a culmination of events?
Actually, it was when I was very young. When I was about 8 years old, my mother actually showed me a picture of the Great Pyramid, and she told me that no one knew how they built it. And I looked at this thing, and I thought this was a pretty ordinary-looking building. I thought I could build this in the backyard out of dirt, you know. And then when I read about it, I found out all these mathematical things that were going on with it, and I was just dumbfounded. This was back when I was about 8. And so my life sort of turned into a search for who built the pyramid. And when you start looking into that, you start looking into all sorts of ancient history and all this sort of stuff. And then you look a little bit further and you start to realise, well, hang on a minute, why would they cover all this stuff up? Because obviously they have covered it all up. And that leads you down the road of government cover-ups, and you end up conspiracy, and you end up looking into UFOs and everything. I mean, it all leads to the same direction ultimately, and then you come back to the big question, well, why? Because obviously everything that they've told us about history, and pretty well everything that they've told us about the world today, simply isn't what they tell us. So the question becomes, why are they so interested in covering this up and keeping this information from the general public?
Well, yeah, that's completely accurate. They've kept everything a lie. They've kept everything from us. Everything that we should have known to begin with. I mean, just from being age 12 or age 13, everything about the universe that they already know, they've been keeping from us, and instead have been spoon-feeding us the truth, which turns out to be complete poison to our mind and poison to our spirit, because it teaches you that everything is the way we say it is, and God created the earth in 7 days, and, you know, all this happened the way we say it happened. And if you believe that astronomical sequences can alter, you know, anything on the earth, then you should be burned at the stake because you're a witch. You know, it's just everything that we should have been taught when we were young, it has been kept from us, and so we've had to search it out when we get older. So I understand what you mean by that.
Well, they hide the information. That's how they keep control.
Mm-hmm.
People are always saying, oh, you know, we can't look at this esoteric stuff or occult stuff. It's of the devil. But the reason that it's hidden is because they don't want you to know about it. Your thoughts on that, Max?
Well, that's exactly why they do it. That's why they wrap it all up in this God versus the devil scenario, to prevent people from actually looking at it. I mean, if people look at things holistically and they look at all this information, they find out that nothing is what they've been told. And again, if you understand that, I mean, even if you are someone who is into religion, perhaps you are a religious type of person and you believe that there are satanic influences or something over the earth, well, would it not be a good idea for you to look into this stuff, simply because even the Bible says, know thy enemy? So you really have to look at both sides of what's going on in order to understand the bigger picture of what's going on. And delving into the occult is by no means delving into dark arts. It's simply gaining knowledge of that which is hidden. Because as we know, occult actually means hidden.
Well, your latest work, the Forbidden, what is it? Earth's Forbidden Secrets. Let's talk about some of the things that you talk about in the book. You talk about, of course, the Great Pyramid, the things about it that are really weird and sacred almost when you look at it from an esoteric perspective, and also the other anomalies on the Earth that they found.
Well, they found stuff lying all over the planet. Actually, that book, I actually wrote that about 7 or 8 years ago. I've been meaning to do a part 2, but I've been so busy that I haven't had time.
Oh,
I posted it on the net. I didn't actually think anyone would even read it, but apparently a large number of people have. I actually caught Amazon.com selling it a couple of months ago, and
nice.
I had to take steps to ask them to take it down because I give it away for free. And they were actually selling it. But there is stuff lying all over the planet. There's monuments and structures lying all over the planet that simply tell a completely different story to history. I mean, people look at what's written in a book, and it's there, it's in black and white, it's written in words, and so they tend to believe it. But if they were to sort of look up from the book, they might see in front of them a huge pile of stones which tells a completely different story. And these are very big piles of stones. So they shouldn't really go unnoticed by people. And there's all sorts of artifacts. There's depictions of ancient flight on Egyptian tombs. There's actually objects that are so small, like one 1/10,000th of an inch long, little pieces of nanotechnology, it almost looks like, that have been found in rivers in China. There's all sorts of things lying all over the planet that tell a completely different story of history. So the question for me becomes why? Why would they do this? Why would it be so imperative for them to cover up this information? That becomes the big question for me, and that's really why I set out on the quest, just to try to answer that question of why they would do this.
Because people were here before.
Actually, I've got Freeman here with me. I'm not sure if you know he's here, but I'm sure he'd like to add something to this.
Oh, excellent!
Awesome.
Excellent.
Bring him in conversation.
Sure.
Yeah, when we start to look at this very picture, you got things like the Antikythera computer mechanism that was found with over 33 gears and even slip gears involved in this. We have so many things to show us that life has been far more intelligent in the ancient past than, and having understandings of the knowledge of the universe, even electromagnetics, being able to move large rocks without the use of a wheel. We're looking at Baalbek, Lebanon, where we have 1,000-ton stones that simply can't be moved by any means in the 21st century. When you start to look into the Great Pyramids, now I went to Kansas University for ancient architecture, and there the professor happily told us how Freemason Colonel Howard Weiss wanted to make a name for himself, and they even tell you this in the Stargate movie, same story, that he went in there and he painted the name of Khufu. Actually, he sent his aide up there, but it was painted in a clay-made paint, so you could do no carbon dating on it. But, of course, the name of Khufu was misspelled, and it was only painted on the walls that weren't broken down. And the professor at the university is telling you clearly that Colonel Howard Weiss perpetrated a huge fraud on the public by dating the pyramid to Khufu to simply make a name for himself. And yet the History Channel, Discovery Channel, and any other, Fox or whatever highlight you see on the pyramids will tell you 3500 BC when Khufu built the pyramid. It's a known fraud. And yet we still have to deal with the information being posted on the media as if it were all true.
Mm-hmm. Well, Freeman, how do you feel about David Wilcock's theory that that the tunnels underneath the Great is actually a timeline? Have you heard that?
Inside of the Great Pyramid, it's believed that the Egyptian age breaks down to a year. And so then you could follow this timeline inside of the pyramid, and then certain people have attached significant events to this inch timeline on there. I haven't done that research myself, but I'm aware of it. Now, one thing that I did cover long ago is when they opened the tomb of Osiris. And, people should have questioned this when they were announcing, here's Zahi Hawass, the undersecretary of the Giza Plateau, at that time undersecretary, announcing on Fox with, I forgot who it was,